not the tragedy of the 20s terrible wrestling television.
All right.
Well, what are you doing over at the Arcadian Vanguard Network with wrestling news and all those type of things this week? I forgot to ask you that earlier.
That's all right. Why don't you listen to wrestling news and all those things?
Hilarious.
Wherever you find your favorite podcast. We're on Twitter at Super Podcast, Facebook,
all right.
Facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, SUAWpod.com. George Shire coming up on the show. And, of course, Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam, McAdamPod.com. What was happening 40 years ago, hear it there. And go through the archives, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership!
Oh, boy.
I got go through the archives, 605pod.com. All episodes for free.
You dislodged your tooth on that one, eh?
It was hurting beforehand.
Well, do we have anything else to chew on?
We'll be back on the drive-thru. There's Saturday night's main event in SmackDown, and also a big, medium-size AEW pay-per-view next week. So there's a lot of things and a lot of questions. And also, we'll probably be returning to looking at the ages of wrestlers in the past. Stay tuned for more about that.
Yes, we have gotten another dossier of
trying to remember what I was doing here.
Wrestlers, we're going to be reporting on that. And of course, back next week on the experience here with more fun and falderall. And go to the YouTube channel if you miss us in the meantime and in between time. But until something happens again, we're done here for now. Thank you, fuck you, and bye-bye, everybody.
Get the experience. Get the experience of Jim Cornette. Of Jim Cornette. Of Jim Cornette.
Good to have an ingot.
Legendary has arrived in Alberta with BetMGM Casino. Sign up to unlock access to over 4,000 casino games, including exclusive slots you can't spin anywhere else. Survivor's Ready? The iconic TV show is now an online casino game where you can tap into island fun. BetMGM has also brought The Price is Right, Game of Thrones, Family Feud, MGM Millions, and so many more exclusive games to Alberta. Get Las Vegas right from your phone with live dealer games streaming from real tables.
Tell what I
and
have.
every time you play, you can enjoy instant deposit options with fast withdrawals. BetMGM Casino
it
and its legendary library of games are available. Download the BetMGM app. CMGM.com for terms. 18 plus, Alberta only. Please play responsibly, subject to eligibility requirements.
If gambling is affecting your mental health or well-being, 211 Alberta is here to help. Call or text 211 or visit ab.211.ca. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with the Alberta iGaming Corporation. Standard message and data rates may apply.
Legendary has arrived in Alberta with BetMGM Casino. Sign up to unlock access to over 4,000 casino games, including exclusive slots you can't spin anywhere else. Survivor's Ready? The iconic TV show is now an online casino game where you can tap into island fun. BetMGM has also brought The Price is Right, Game of Thrones, Family Feud, MGM Millions, and so many more exclusive games to Alberta. Get Las Vegas right from your phone with live dealer games streaming from real tables. And every time you play, you can enjoy instant deposit options with fast withdrawals. BetMGM Casino and its legendary library of games are available. Download the BetMGM app. CMGM.com for terms. 18 plus, Alberta only. Please play responsibly, subject to eligibility requirements.
If gambling is affecting your mental health or well-being, 211 Alberta is here to help. Call or text 211 or visit ab.211.ca. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with the Alberta iGaming Corporation. Standard message and data rates may apply.
Trying to find a better way across here.
Like the midnight and the rock and roll, he's in a fight for wrestling soul, using a racket and some mind control. He's Jim Cornette, the keys to the future, held by the past, and with tag team partner Brian Last. He sends this message out by podcast. He's Jim Cornette. Well, he's never fake or phony. He never backs down from a fight. He never wins the pony, 'cause his mama raised him right. It's time to put your mind. Get the experience. Get the experience. Get the experience.
Maybe a cave would be good. I feel like I've been here, though.
Edition of the Jim Cornette Experience today. Real thoughts on WWE Unreal. Will SummerSlam's card reel in the fans? And is Will Ospreay really going out with Ken? All that and more today, and joining me for that, Hawaiian Brian, the giggling lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you. He's really gonna take us home tonight. The great Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again. I think if anyone said, put your money down on what Joe Jackson song you referenced on a Jim Cornette, everyone would have said, Step It Out. That was a hit in America. But you went with a deep cut. Popular movement. Is she really going on there?
Well, if my eyes don't deceive me, there's something going wrong around here.
Right, Joe Jackson?
Well, I've never met him. I can't really give you an opinion on him, but there is some things going wrong around here in a wrestling business we're going to talk about today. Holy jumping
trying to get to the next level so I can unlock stuff I need to progress.
Playtime. I got up early because they get up early. And from about 7 o'clock in the morning to about 9 o'clock in the morning, there were belly rubs and puppy kisses and tug of war and squeaky toy fetch and just cuddling and jumping. Did I tell you they can both get up on the couch now? And in a TV room, they can get up on the couch, then on the arm, because it's a big padded leather arm, and they can leap from there, bounding a little bit off the end table onto the kind of love seat that's next to it, where they can, and they're just everywhere. So you got to keep your eyes on these. That's why I just told you my ear is squishy. I forgot whether I took my pills or not. This is why I was so involved with the animal playtime, the puppy playtime, that I can't remember whether I took my antihistamine, my blood pressure medicine. I could have a stroke here today. But I don't want to take the second round of pills, because then I've doubled up if I did. And if that's the case, then my blood pressure would go down to 15/12, and you'd have to call somebody. What should I do?
The puppy playtime. You realize everything you just said about puppies. If somebody listened to the show, they didn't know you got 2 new puppies. I think it was some perverted talk. Oh, I was rubbing the puppies, and the puppies jumped into the love seat, and they were just waiting for me. The puppies. I was kissing the puppies and rubbing the puppies.
I said love
and
seat,
Jerry Lawler.
not love swing. Well, I forgot Lawler gave a different meaning to puppies, but I'm talking about the original old-fashioned kind of old-school puppy. Nature Boy Buddy and Alfred Puddensworth Cornette, the brothers of destruction, the twin devils, the two princes, the heirs to the throne.
Which one's Kane? Which one's going to burn your house down?
Oh, quit now. Because if they ever learn to use matches, we're in trouble. Because I told you, with the first week he was here, Alfred walked over to the wall and unplugged the internet. Good boy. But we still need it. But they haven't destroyed anything of value or sentimental. They've been hell on doormats and corners of couches and chair legs and things. But they're just a little joy. Two little joys. Little almond joys. All righty. That was the first name of the Allman Brothers band. You know that, the Almond Joys.
That's right.
Let's go.
Just anyway, we got letters from the listeners that I can't, because, hold on, did Buddy pee on this? No,
everything's fun and games now until you walk up in the office like, hey, Buddy, what are you doing to the Rogers O'Connor program? Ah! And then it's going to be off the hook.
The boys have now, we've decided that the boys are not old enough to enter the office unaccompanied. And so
You see?
I've got, because they're so bad. Well, there's so many places they can hide. Also, I lost one of them for like 5 minutes last week because I didn't realize there's a 3-inch space underneath my end tables, and he limboed. He got on his belly or whatever and kind of scooted in. The only thing I saw was his back paws. I pulled him out by his legs.
Trying to escape.
So there's too many nooks and crannies up here. They are more adventurous than Harley ever was. She was not a Lewis and Clark type of dog. She was more like a feed me my bonbons daddy type of dog.
Like a Peg Bundy.
Yes. She was more Peg Bundy. These are more King Kong Bundy. And I'm not even going to mention the time.
So we need to get some ore.
But having said that, moving on from, I could talk about my children all day. Would you like to see some pictures in my wallet of my kids, Brian?
I would if you had a big wallet, but you don't. You have a nice slim wallet nowadays from our friends at Ridge.
Well, that used to be the worst part of people carrying wallets, is they wanted to show you pictures of their children. I'll look at pictures of your dogs, but I don't want to see pictures of your kids. They look too much like you. I'm speaking of the royal you now, not you specifically, but all of yous out there. That's the one worst thing about your kids, is they look too much like you. How about that? Anyway, speaking of our cult members and friends that listen to our program, we've got some mail. Matt wrote us, and I'm sorry to say that he said we've lost a cult member because his 3.5-year-old golden retriever, Archie, passed away, I guess it'd be 2 weeks ago now. He got sick real quickly, and the vet said it was multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, which I've never even heard of. So he's asking everyone to ask their vets, and I'm going to be talking to those about that because haven't they made a bunch more new diseases, not only for people but for animals? I mean, you see, back in the old days, people lived till they had beards to their crotches, and the dogs were on the porch when they were 18 years old with flies around them. And now, everybody's just fucking sick. He said when I would do things around the house like cleaning or yard work, listening to the podcast, he would always be right there at my side, running along the mower, and have stained green feet from a hard day's work. And his most cherished memories of Archie are listening to the shows together every weekend. So, Matt, I'm sorry about that. Very sorry. And Ethan. And, boy, I wish I could say, I don't want to give his last name, but it's a hilarious last name. So, Ethan, you know who you are. But his mom passed away on July 14th. She'd had pulmonary fibrosis for 3 years.
Damn, we almost lost that battle.
It's a lung disease, and his mother, believe it or not, was also a fan of the podcast. And they listened together because apparently he's from Louisville, or the Louisville area, because his mom grew up going to the Louisville Gardens, and she introduced me to wrestling as a kid. And we bonded over wrestling. When OVW moved to Louisville, we were at the first show at the Davis Arena and didn't stop going weekly until I was out of high school. I guess then she kicked you out and you had to earn your living or whatever the fuck. But he also went to some of the shows at St. Therese and was at every Six Flags shows in the summer. So anyway, it built a bond between him and his mom. So Ethan, we're sorry for her loss also, and for your incredibly hilarious last name. It'll just stay between us.
Now. What is it? Ethan Elligood?
I know it. No, it is not. It's funny to me.
What would it be?
Anyway,
is it Featherbottom? Is it Featherbottom?
It is not a member of the Featherbottom family. It's one syllable, and with a hard at the end. It's anyway.
All right.
And Dick, I'll say that this is obviously a made-up name. Dick Clark. Sure you are. He's from Kokomo, so that may explain some things, but unfortunately, and being serious, Dick's brother passed away last month. I guess this was written in July, so maybe in June. And he was only 47. And he wanted to thank us again. Dick did for doing the shows to help keep his mind off things. And Dick, you don't need to thank us for that. So many people do, and that's the last thing you need to do at this point. But
Yeah.
he said also, I'm from Kokomo, Indiana, where your puppies came from. And when I heard it, I was so stoked you were talking about Kokomo. Apparently you were, because I'm the only one that's talking about Kokomo. Remember, I did not have a guy. I had a great review of the Pfeffer collection, but the city surrounding it was not exactly Shangri-La. But he said, I wish I'd have known you were coming. I would have totally got you a good hookup at a restaurant in town that I work at. And that could be good or bad also, because I saw some of the restaurants in town. And it seemed like it might be feast or famine, no pun intended.
Always a great offer after the fact. You know, I wish I would have known you were in town. I would have got you a diamond ring.
If only I'd have known you were coming. I had, and then, but I'm coming next time. I'll be out of town.
That's right.
But anyway, Dick, next time we'll hook up when I get back to, something. No, it was South Bend. I was thinking it because I'm thinking of the Pfeffer, because we go right through Kokomo to go to South Bend. Kokomo is even smaller than South Bend.
Do they like the song Kokomo by the Beach Boys there, or do they resent it? Because it is painting a tropical locale picture. A beautiful river.
Yeah, I think it caused a lot of problem with the Chamber of Commerce when people kept coming expect to lay out on the beach and fucking have coconut milk. They had to refund a lot of people's fucking hotel deposits and shit when that first came out, from what I understand. But yeah, Kokomo, South Bend, DQ, Schmeeq, whatever. All right, yeah, let's go to Saipan, Brian. Rose from Saipan has checked in because, the the regular listeners to the program know that Rose is our designated listener in Saipan. Right. We've got at least one in every country on the globe.
Okay, we should head back to base.
And they've been undergoing
that checkpoint's right there.
Let's risk it. What the fuck is she? Is she some kind of secret agent for the CIA or an undercover agent for the FBI that she's in Saipan? And then her mom chimed in, and it got to be a whole thing. Well, here's what's going on with Rose. Hello, Jim and Brain. I'm not sure if that's
right.
Well, I'm sorry to bother you, but I've got another update from Saipan. I got my power back after 71 days. Can you... Oh, boy, howdy. And this is a tropical climate, I would assume, being as how they had a tropical fucking storm. But the
there it is.
I can't remember what Mr. Foon's name was. Come in as we last reported and wiped out her power. Got the power back after 71 days. And then, over the 4th of July weekend, we got hit with another super typhoon. A super typhoon, Brian. This one was Bavi. B-A-V-I. It's not capitalized. I don't know. Maybe she just hit period before she was finished with the fucking word. But my mom, Lynette, told me that people in the Cult of Cornet Facebook group were worried that we were experiencing another Category 5 typhoon less than 3 months later. So I wanted to give an update. And I also want to say my roommate, who had never seen pro wrestling before she started living with me 2 years ago, is very entertained by your podcast and hates Russo now after listening to me ramble about him and watching Dark Side of the Ring with me. She also thinks your two dogs are very good boys, and she's a professional dog groomer and sitter, so she knows her stuff. I wonder what the dog population is like in Saipan. Are they happy creatures? Anyway, Rose closes. Thank you both for being great and supporting the people of Saipan. who now number Rose and her roommate, are the only ones left sticking it out there with a bunch of dogs because the fucking weather is a rip. What do you think, Brain? You want to move to Saipan?
I don't think I'll be moving there or visiting there. Maybe get a generator, but that may be out of the question in Saipan.
Well, but here's the thing now. If the generator has to run on, like, some type of fuel, if they've just been wiped out by a Category 5 super typhoon, you think gas is easy to come by, or they gonna run it with lighter fluid? I mean, that seems like they'd have extensive issues if they had no electricity for better than two months.
Seems like a great opportunity to bring over Fred Ottman for an autograph signing.
Typhoon is coming. 3 hours only. People be, oh, thank God, it's going to be a quick one this time.
Are you ready for the next typhoon? Don't worry, it's Typhoon.
I think he'd probably be more popular if he changed his name to Typhoid. Oh, fuck, can you imagine these poor fucking people having typhoid? They'd be after him with pitchforks and fucking flamethrowers. Fuck you fat son of a bitch, it's your fault.
Maybe they'd see it the other way, like typhoon arriving here will end the typhoon curse that's befallen our little island.
No, because then somebody will remind everybody he was also the Shockmaster, and they'll say, fuck his son of a bitch is cursed too, don't come here. We've got all the cursing we need. Danhausen, can you imagine if Danhausen could go uncurse the fine people of Saipan? Why, he'd be a national hero. Why, they'd recognize him from Sai all the way over to Pan.
When the Shockmaster fell through the wall, a while after that they tried to repackage him. They put him in a mask. Do you remember the name?
Oh, God damn it.
It was the Super Shockmaster.
Oh, my God,
so
that's
Super
right.
Typhoon could be Typhoon coming over now wearing a mask so you don't see how old he is exactly. Super Typhoon coming to Typhoon Alley.
See, I can't remember now. You just reminded me of that. I vaguely recalled that they brought him back, and then I didn't even remember the name, but were they trying to be like, this is an even greater Shockmaster, or did everybody just admit it was the same guy, and he was just the Super Shockmaster now?
Well, because remember, first they made him Uncle Fred. And he would come out there like they play into it. Now he's in like a construction hat and no mask, and he just falls down. Like, it was just a joke that wouldn't end for a while, but it wasn't funny at all, and no one wanted to see that. And then they made him like this big powerhouse, the Super Shockmaster, and I don't even remember if they referenced that it was the former Shockmaster or not, but
yeah, you know, Uncle Fred was because that's what Dusty's, which of Dusty's
Cody.
kids?
It was Cody.
It would have been Cody. Because Fred Ottman, Typhoon, Shockmaster, et al., was married to Dusty's sister, correct?
I believe so.
So he was technically the uncle for Dusty's kids, and that Uncle Fred, and they were trying to... There was a big fucking guy that in the territories you could have... He would have had as long a career as he wanted. You could have booked him in each territory for 3 or 4 months endlessly, round and round. But you couldn't put him on national TV every week for very long.
I liked him as Tugboat.
One of those type of deals.
I liked him as Tugboat when he first came in. For a 10-year-old kid, he was very happy. He was just, whoo, he'd do his little noise, and...
But all I could think of was poor Tug Taylor down in Dallas going, motherfucker, what about me? I was fucking Tug.
And he kind of looked like Bluto. You would think they would go with like a Bluto gimmick more than, just Tugboat. Just
well, where are you going to find Popeye? Or olive oil, because maybe like Britt Baker could have been olive oil, but where are you going to find Popeye? And then what is good as Bluto or Brutus, depending on the era, without Popeye?
Well, he looked like Bluto. I guess that was my only point. Now that I
and Poop Deck Pappy. See, who's Bluto gonna beat up? He's gonna beat up Popeye.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna beat up Poop Deck Pappy.
Yeah.
He's gonna take Wimpy's fucking burgers away, and he's gonna try to fucking maul Olive Oil like he always does. After that, he's got no opponents, no money match.
So if Uncle Bluto married Dusty's sister, what's the story? Jerry Sags is also Dusty's brother-in-law, right?
Oh God, I forgot about what.
Is that Michelle's sister? Or did Dusty have another sister? And his sister just kept marrying wrestlers.
I lost track of the, I had them looked up on Ancestry.com, and I've lost track of this, but also poor Tony Zane. We could have been talking about Tony Zane right now.
What are you talking about?
Tony Zane in the mid-'80s at least had a few dates because he caught some shit for it amongst the locker room. Tony Zane was one of the guys from North Georgia, along with Pee Wee Anderson and Marty Lundy, Arn Anderson, no relation. And he did jobs on Atlanta TV and worked some in the mid-'80s, but he went out on a few dates with one of Dusty's daughters. Again, I don't have the genealogy tree in front of me. And because of his spot on the fucking lineup, that's where the subject came up, and he got blistered by it. The boys just were unmerciful for a few weeks. But we called Tony Zane the human bruise. He bruised easier. He didn't have a cosmetically pleasing physique, but he could halfway work for his experience level. But he would bruise on sight. And just doing a fucking 4-minute TV squash match, he'd come back looking like he'd been in a car wreck. He got stabbed in Mid-South. He went down with Arn. They booked him to do either TV jobs or underneath, like opening matches or whatever. And they had him go out in New Orleans at the downtown auditorium to do a pull-apart, whoever the main event was. And there's poor old Tony Zane, a job guy, there for $50, and somebody stabbed him trying to get to whoever they were trying to stab.
This has been Typhoon Talk, and once again, our correspondent in Saipan led to a topic that just went to all sorts of places.
I'm thinking Tony Zane, Tug Taylor, and Typhoon, in that order, would look like the evolutionary map of fat people.
Legendary has arrived in Alberta with BetMGM Casino. Sign up to unlock access to over 4,000 casino games, including exclusive slots you can't spin anywhere else. Survivors Ready? The iconic TV show is now an online casino game where you can tap into island fun. BetMGM has also brought The Price is Right, Game of Thrones, Family Feud, MGM Millions, and so many more exclusive games to Alberta. Get Las Vegas right from your phone with live dealer games streaming from real tables. And every time you play, you can enjoy instant deposit options with fast withdrawals. BetMGM Casino and its legendary library of games are available. Download the BetMGM app. CMGM.com for terms. 18 plus Alberta only. Please play responsibly, subject to eligibility requirements.
If gambling is affecting your mental health or well-being, 211 Alberta is here to help. Call or text 211 or visit ab.211.ca. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with the Alberta iGaming Corporation. Standard message and data rates may apply.
Anyway, we got a letter to follow up, Brian, and this is fascinating. Stuff from, we talked about, for whatever reason, I can't remember what brought it up, but on a show a couple weeks ago about the State of Oregon Athletic Commission and the bullshit that they put wrestling through. The WWE, I think it was brought up, didn't run Portland for 10 years or whatever. It didn't run the state. And WCW didn't run the state, but maybe once, whatever the fuck it was. And we mentioned kind of as an aside, because of the commission, all the rules and the drug testing and blah, blah, blah. We didn't really go into detail, but we got an email from Frank Culbertson, who, along with Mike Rogers, have been become the custodians of Portland and Northwest
I need
Wrestling
more wood.
history. They've written newsletters, photography, actually promoted, refereed between the two of them. They've put the ring up and taken it down. You'd almost have to do that again, wouldn't you? They've done everything in the business, and Frank gets in touch with us from time to time, and Mike does too, but he wanted to give us some details, and this goes to show you not only why there was no major league or almost any professional wrestling in the state of Oregon for years, but it shows you how that every once in a while you get a commission and or a commissioner in your state that knows what's going on and wants to help the business because they get, X amount of tax dollars from wrestling per year in the state of wherever. And the longtime promoters always tried to, we've read the Pfeffer letters on the show where they were always trying to find a commissioner that was friendly or somebody that was friendly with the commissioner, right? Because they can stay out of the way and collect a lot of money and the business can prosper, or they can meddle and get a fucking bee up their bonnet for, the business for one reason or another, and it can kill it. And this Oregon situation, which I don't know if a lot of the modern folks out there and women, how could I say the younger people or the people that weren't around at the time may not remember exactly how ridiculous that the state of Oregon got to where there was just no wrestling in it. You never know when it could happen again, right? Because remember, we've also talked at
I
length
completely forgot
about the
what I
state
was
of
going to put
Kentucky.
to... Oh, a bed, right?
20 years ago and up until more recent times, being one of the strictest state maybe in the country when it comes to commission rulings and every kind of wrestling because of Ian Rotten's garbage deathmatch wrestling causing such a stir. So it can fuck up wrestling not only for the people running it, but also the fans who want to see it. And much like weed or an abortion, have to travel out of state, right? Would you like to hear Frank's letter now that I've preambled that? Just also to check in and make sure you're still breathing, Brian.
Yeah, this came up on the drive-thru as a question from one of the listeners, and I brought up that Mike Rogers, Ring Around the Northwest, his newsletter, covered all this in real time, and obviously Frank and Mike are partners in a lot of different publishing efforts, and yeah, I'm very curious about this. You brought up that younger fans may not be aware. Fans at that time may not be aware. It was Portland. It was off the radar in a lot of ways, and it wasn't like the Aftermax. If they were going to cover Portland, we're going to cover the battle with the commission.
Well, and this whole saga took years, as you'll see, and we'll hit the high points here of just the gist of it. But he heard the question, and he says it is true about the WWF not coming here, and thanks to me, they eventually were able to have shows here. I think TKO owes me some stock. They didn't go to Oregon for over 10 years because of the testing rules and the some of the rules in general. And he gives a brief timeline. They didn't have a commission. Apparently, the Oregon Wrestling Commission came into being on October 1st, 1987. And on January 11th, 1988, it was published in the Wrestling Observer. There was no online, so that's what things got published in back in those days. On that date,
got
they published
a new guy.
The releases of the Oregon Wrestling Commission's intentions of what they wanted to do with sport in the state of Oregon. Replace all wrestling officials with boxing officials.
Oh, what a great start. Oh, my God.
That would be referees. Officials can be anything in boxing, but generally referees would be in wrestling. Use 4 ropes instead of 3. They wanted to use boxing rings, which, as we've noted, are also harder than Chinese arithmetic to fall down in, but have 4 ropes. The extensive drug testing, which we've talked about, not only was for street drugs, but for performance-enhancing drugs, and also for HIV, and also the blah, blah, blah. Banning the blade, no juice. That has been a recurring theme because of the hardcore guys in a variety of places since then. But in that time period, I think that was that the first time that any commission had ever taken a stance on blood in wrestling? Brian,
I don't know. J.J. Binns, the famous incident was at the Bash where Wahoo got a blade stuck in his head.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes, that's right. Pennsylvania already had the rule. Did New York have the rule? Because they sure didn't have it back in the fucking 70s in the Garden.
I don't remember if it was a rule at this point, but New York did have a stricter commission, but you can get around it, especially if you were WWE.
Right, and or especially depending on, who you were and who you knew and etc.
But, every now and then still, like, even at a late date, at a Garden show, like, one match would just have some bullshit referee you didn't see on any other wrestling matches ever.
Yes. Well, and I've talked about that before in New York State and some of the Northeast states. It was a commission requirement that these referees were 100 years old. We had a midnight rock and roll match. But it was a midnight match with somebody at one of those...
We need some ingots.
Upstate New York, help me. Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, someplace like
Troy.
that. Not Troy, thank God. But the referee was 100 years old, but there was Tommy Young sitting at the ringside helping the ring announcer play the music because they wanted to use, and I'm like, motherfucker, I was yelling. I said, this guy's ready to have a fucking stroke, and the best referee in the business is carrying a boombox. Anyway, and Wahoo in '86, you are correct, sir. The Philadelphia Stadium Bash, they came in after Wahoo's match, said, everybody, no more juice, no color tonight, no. Because that J.J. Binns, who was in the Rocky movie and had the fucking weird zombie-like hairdo and the whole 9 yards, he was a gimmick. He got mad when Wahoo got juice and the tip of the blade broke off at his forehead. And he came back in the fucking locker room and he was bleeding, and the commissioner followed him and saw him squeezing it in the mirror, and the blade popped out and hit the fucking mirror. And the commissioner got pissed off. Nevertheless, back to this. But also, the Oregon Wrestling Commission rules. There were rules about the length of a wrestler's trunks, the amount of tape he could use, no face paint would be allowed, etc., etc. It was like just gibberish, right? So that was in 1988, and that led to the big companies not going. And remember, Sandy Barr, the father of Art Barr and Jesse Barr, one of Don Owens' old referees, was running like a flea market show, and he'd let them in free but charge them to park, trying to get around the commission, because if you let people in free, they couldn't blah, 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 whatever. They're trying to do these loopholes, right? This was for years and years, all the wrestling that people had in Oregon. And as a matter of fact, Billy Jack Haynes, remember when he was trying to run opposition?
OWF.
And it didn't last. At the same time, he was doing all these screwy things that the commissioner was having a heart attack about. So anyway, that was 1988 and for years afterwards. But for Frank's first-hand testimony, fast forward to 2002, and I take the job of business manager for the local WB32 affiliate. The building had previously been owned by a Christian broadcasting group. The building included a television studio, dressing rooms, and of course the requisite hot tub and sauna. Because you can't expect to talk about God without a hot tub and sauna. The studio was not being used by the station, and I was looking for ways to increase the revenue. So I wrote a business plan to produce Portland wrestling in the studio. The station manager, Steve Dant, knew nothing of Portland's wrestling history, but had worked in Kansas City and Atlanta, so he knew wrestling could sell commercial time, especially with the demographics the station was targeting. He gave it the green light, but we had to get the okay from the corporate offices in Los Angeles. And the corporation was also the group that owned KTLA in Los Angeles. Well, guess what the corporation's either name or acronym was, Brian? ACME. ACME. That was the, so they went to LA and got to show approved. So he says now was a time for a trip to the Oregon Boxing and Wrestling Commission meeting in Salem, Oregon. Attending the meeting were Moondog Ed Moretti. You remember Moondog Moretti was a Portland wrestling fan who was a fan of Moondog Maines, later on got into business, wrestled for years.
Ed Moretti.
He was a former commission member. Mike Rogers, John Clark, the head of promotions at the station, and myself. And Frank says, I asked the question of the commission, if we were a television show only with no ticket sales, just a studio audience, would we need to have a promoter's license? James Cassidy, the executive director of the commission, stated that we would not, as we were not putting on shows and charging admission. We knew we were a go, or so we thought. In 2003, we taped a few episodes. Piper, the grappler, and Moretti helped book the show and work through the matches with the boys. None of the wrestlers had ever worked television, so these guys put a lot of work in to get things going. Then came the first letter attached, and he has attached these letters to document or commemorate what he's saying. The first letter stating we were in violation for not holding a promoter's license with copies to the Gaming Commission and Assistant Attorney General.
Jesus.
Then the second letter from the State Assistant Attorney General. This was a complete contradiction as to what was discussed at the commission meeting. Fortunately, those meetings are tape recorded. Back in those days, a tape recorder was a tiny device put in the middle of the table to pick everything up, and we knew the tape would vindicate us, or so we thought. I called up Jim Cassidy and stated our position and asked him to review the tape. He did and sent us a copy of the tape. Nowhere on the tape was the conversation that had taken place at the commission meeting. Now Cassidy did tell me that if we got a license, he would look the other way, quote unquote, on the other rules. His exact words. I wrote them down as he said them. Of course, he then told the Portland Mercury newspaper that I didn't say I'd look the other way on enforcing the rules. I don't turn away from the rules. They misinterpreted what I said. I told them they have to have a promoter's license, the wrestlers have to be licensed through us, and they have to have an annual physical and show negative results of hepatitis B, surface antigens, and HIV. The promoter's license at that time was very in-depth and required a lot of financial disclosures of everyone involved. Requirements Acme was not going to provide for a wrestling show in Portland, Oregon. And I don't blame them being a company named Acme, but financial disclosures. I've gotten or been involved in the paperwork for getting a promoter's license in the state of Kentucky when there was a strict commission. And if you could prove with references that you were a legitimate member of the wrestling community, that you had some experience in that you had an insurance bond of such and such level and placed a bond with the state, then it wasn't like you needed to send them your tax returns. So this is crazy. Yeah. But point being, so Acme didn't want to have a promoter's license, and Steve Dant, the station guy, didn't want to go to jail. Fortunately, Portland Wrestling had a fan that worked in the office of Oregon House Majority Leader Tootie Smith. I'm not making that up, but Tootie. House Majority Leader Tootie Smith. Did you ever vote for Tootie?
Is Tootie a man or a woman?
Well, it might be open to interpretation. Oh, next sentence. Working with this gentleman, see, he anticipated that we would be. I think Tootie Smith was being played by, like fucking Tallulah Bankhead or something. But nevertheless, Tootie, working with this gentleman, we crafted House Bill 3581 in March of 2003. It was introduced, which would abolish the Oregon Boxing and Wrestling Commission. The bill came with the support of Tootie Smith, as well as the House Minority and Speaker of the House, Tits McGee. No, I made that name up. He didn't give the name of that fellow. It was a great day to be at that presentation to give it my support. There was a publicity barrage that came from many media outlets, and the commission talked about how they probably shouldn't govern, quote-unquote, entertainment wrestling. Several reasons point to this outcome. The state's dismal budget situation made it very hard to justify an entity that regulated 11 matches during the previous 2 years and a small handful of boxing matches. So the commission made it to where in 2 years there were 11 pro wrestling events of any description in the state of Oregon in 24 months. That's like once every 2 months someplace. The WB situation and consequent publicity shed a lot of light on the absurd side of the commission with the overzealous rules, and from the state's point of view, this made the commission very hard to defend. So at the point of deregulation, the commission had 3 requests. Promotions be licensed, post a bond to cover unpaid expenses, duh. And the commission still gets its 6% of the gate.
What?
Also, a promoter must declare to the commission that their participants are free from bloodborne pathogens. No actual testing.
Bogged
Just
down.
take the promoter's word.
Carrying too
As
much
I see,
stuff.
It's the pinky swear method crossed with the Indian Blood Brothers ceremony. But anyway, that's the thing. They're paying some level of taxpayer money to have a commission to regulate 11 small-time wrestling shows over a 2-year period. What? So anyway.
I
But
also
Frank
don't understand why they want to shut down wrestling. You would think they would want the 6%, even if it's small. But if there was quantity, maybe it would build up.
You know what? I forget the guy's name. It was Bruce something, wasn't it? The first commissioner that started all this back in the late 80s when as Frank just said, when they started it in 88. I'm thinking he didn't like wrestling to begin with. He thought it was just, oh my God, this is horrible shit. He may very well have been a boxing guy, and he just didn't get it. And
Do you think the 4 ropes thing is because they want to use boxing rings, or is it because they wanted to keep wrestlers in the ring?
Well, that was part of it. There's 4 ropes. The boxers don't fall out of the ring. Yeah, so try getting thrown out. But also just to standardize everything that they considered. Well, these are similar sports in the same field of play or whatever the fuck. And also the guy was just a fucking demented prick. But yeah, there were fights for the first several years with Billy Jack, and because that was right as Don Owens was about to fold up, or just had, but it certainly hastened his demise. Sandy Barr couldn't fucking get anything started. Billy Jack, crazy anyway.
Wait for all these ingots anyway.
The big companies didn't need to go to fucking Oregon. But then they started doing business. Well, I was about to say, if Frank closes, and Mike signed this also, he had been in touch with the WWF legal department, as had Tootie Smith. And the WWF didn't make a public statement, but they promised to return and run a pay-per-view at the Rose Garden. See, they never promised us a Rose Garden, but they promised us a show at the Rose Garden if the bill passed. So the last attachment was a picture of Frank and Mike with Triple H and Flair on the return to Portland when they did the pay-per-view because they got the bill passed. But that's, again, that's what, if you go so far as these fucking hardcore goofs do to piss off state regulatory boards on purpose to be, oh, look at me, I'm hardcore. Or sometimes you just run across at a place that has been fined for wrestling for years and years. You would run across, you know, a guy that got in and like, well, I'm going to fix this shit. And it might kill your business. And there are still, as you know, places where the state does have regulatory capacity over wrestling. So it's not like this is something that can never take place again from the old days.
Yeah, they may still stick their finger up your ass in New York. I don't know.
I had to walk into the fucking Pineville Police Department in Pineville, North Carolina, and ask to be fingerprinted so we could go to New York. Because the wrestling... This was what, 87 was the first... somehow we didn't have to do it in 85 when Crockett ran spot shows in New York. But when we ran the Nassau Coliseum...
Yeah.
We had to get New York licenses where you had to have the picture and the physical and you also had to be fingerprinted. You had to have your fingerprints on the application to be a wrestler. So that was from back in the old days. They did that in the 30s. And if I'd have just been some fucking random dipshit, I think they'd have locked me up for being crazy, but they knew I was on Crockett TV. They said, Jim Cornette wants to be fingerprinted. I said, I don't know anybody who knows how to do fingerprints here. But this was before I had undergone that process but a time or two. But yeah, so the commission, speaking of commissions and physicals, just before we close this goddamn subject up, did I tell you about our Louisiana Wrestling Commission licenses when we went to work for Watson Mid-South? How that they actually came about?
I don't know if you have.
Me and Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton have not exactly been, making a goddamn fortune in Tennessee, and we go down to Mid-South and we start making money, and we've got the daggum bookings out, and we're just working every day. But the first night or two in, they handed us, though, you got to get here, fill this out. Grizzly Smith, he's the one that took care of this shit. Fill this form out. We got to get you a license for Louisiana. Okay, well, it not only we have to fill the form out, but also it says, here, fill this medical form out and go to the doctor and get a fucking physical. Well, A, we didn't feel like paying for a goddamn doctor that B, we didn't have because we've just never been in Louisiana in our fucking life, to C, give to the goddamn commission over a fake business when everybody that, all three of us are already doing what we're doing every night healthy in every other fucking state, right? So I called up my cousin Larry's wife, Terry, who is a nurse. And I asked her the questions that it was on there, like, what should my fucking blood pressure be? Whatever the questions were on his medical form. For a normal goddamn human being, even just a regular amateur athlete, nothing outstanding, don't need to go to the Olympics, what should I write down, right? And she told me, and I kind of made it squiggly handwriting like a doctor. And then, to make it believable, I didn't just make up like, Dr. Proctor or the Red Rectum Rocker and sign it. I said, I'm going to be a sneaky motherfucker and smart a forger. I'm going to go to the phone book here in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I'm going to pick out the doctor's name and I'm going to sign his name to it.
Oh, man.
Because they ain't going to fucking check. It's a goddamn athletic commission. They want your goddamn money for your fucking license and the money for the tax on the shows, right? So I picked the doctor's name out and I sign it. sent it in. We got our licenses, obviously. We wrestled for a year in the state of Louisiana, and nobody ever questioned the goddamn thing. And the only one thing is, about 3 or 4 weeks after I turned that in, I was driving into Alexandria from somewhere, one of the highways, and I saw a billboard for re-elect Dr. whatever the fuck his name was. Do you know who he was?
No.
The county coroner.
Ah.
Or the
Build
parish
that
coroner,
ranch.
I guess I should say down there. But fucking coroner signed our physicals. All right, that should be a wrestling gimmick, the coroner. We've had the Undertaker, but what about before the Undertaker gets him? The coroner can figure out all the different ways that he could kill his opponent, and then... All right, speaking of killing things, Brian, let's go to the business world. We got business news to report. This is CNBC. Apparently, this is second only in the radio world to the, Howard Stern type news. The WWE is now taking over Sirius Radio's wrestling channel. Is this a true statement that I'm hearing that people are saying on the fucking interwebs?
This is a true statement. This is put out in a press release. Obviously, Sirius has had wrestling shows. About a year ago, give or take, they launched their wrestling channel, and to the surprise of no one paying attention, it has not gotten the numbers they expected. And now they'll go right to WWE, and it'll just be a WWE Universe channel.
Well, that's what they're calling it, fucking Radio WWE, right? Or WWE Radio. I forget, which one was the old one? The old days.
Radio WWF.
That Radio WWF. I did that a time or two, I was telling you earlier. But this is then going to be WWE Radio. But that sort of... Does that make them the Fox News of the wrestling radio space, where they have to toe the line for dear leader, the corporation, and cannot have any honesty on their airwaves? 'Cause, boy, howdy, I'm glad I didn't answer old Jose Greco's phone call when he was trying to get me to be involved in that thing. I'm not trying to knock. I've never listened to a goddamn second of Busted Open or any other radio or any other podcast. And as you know, I've seldom, if ever, listened back to our own. Because I was there when we did it, and I don't have time. So I'm not knocking or praising anybody's program.
No, you should knock it. It's a horrible show.
Oh, well, if you've heard it, feel free to give your thoughts.
It's terrible. It's professional wrestling audio poison. Just not good.
Is it strychnine or ptomaine? Or cyclosporiasis?
And now, of course, they're going to do nothing but kiss WWE ass. They used to, I guess, randomly kiss other ass, but it's going to be just WWE. It's state-sponsored radio, and it's not going to be good, and I don't think that's going to do anything to help numbers, just because all of a sudden you're going to have WWE podcasts.
Let's go do this, boss.
On here. No one's tuning in to hear the Bellas talk. You know what I mean? No disrespect to them, but stars aren't always audio stars. And
well, when we talk about AEW's television program, I'm gonna make a point. So I won't, but I'll make a point on what you just said and agree with it later on.
But they've tried multiple times, just to follow up on you. Multiple times, multiple different people in different departments have hit up either you or me, and my attitude, I'll just speak for myself, has always been, why would I ever want any association with any of that shit over there? Not even to do with Sirius, but, the idea...
We're over here.
All right, boss battle.
Part of a roster of shit does not appeal to me.
Well, but for once, I'm going to put something softer than you do, but it kind of means the same thing. We do
First
have
boss.
a fairly large audience.
I've already beat these guys, but, it's version 1, so...
Because we're not bullshitting.
Super duper important.
Because we're not affiliated or associated with anybody. That's
Riz
the idea.
Balls.
You don't have
And so,
remember the Terramana fucking tequila? We gotta, we plug our own sponsors, but we don't have any goddamn incestuous relationship.
And they're getting sued by the Rocks Tequila Company is getting sued.
All right, down, boy. One fucking tirade at a time. But the point is, all goodwill to all of the people who are doing all wrestling programs everywhere around the world, blah, blah, blah. Love is in the air. But that's why we just do our own thing, because we don't want to be we're over here now. And I don't listen to anybody else, therefore I'm not influenced by anybody else. And people can tell that listen on a regular basis, many times, at least speaking for myself. Brian, I know you're a very well-prepared journalist, but I just pull shit out of my ass based on what I'm hearing or seeing, and that seems to work. But that was the point. Is I didn't see a clamor from the populace for a 24-hour wrestling radio channel with there ain't that many personalities in the entire wrestling business that can captivate me for that long, and that's the problem. And many of them are not available to do something like that.
That's the problem. That's the model everyone goes with. That's the model that doesn't work. Star-driven shows are not the answer. Wrestling talk, that's the answer.
Well, besides that, it's the same reason that sometimes the best player doesn't translate into being the best coach. It's different skills. If you can be a star at something without just people wanting to hear you talk for an hour and a half or whatever.
I think Sirius is trying to cut their losses because they're never going to be able to build a wrestling audience the way they've done it so far. That really matters. And, they announced that WWE will do, like they used to do with Radio WWF and like WCW did on the hotline. They're going to do audio broadcasts of the pay-per-views. And again, I don't mean to put down the guy, but I'm not a fan of Booker T's commentary on NXT. And that's with visuals. I can't imagine.
So you're saying poor Leroy McGurk would be in the dark as to what was going on?
Oh my God! I don't. Not everyone is a radio broadcaster. There are plenty of baseball commentators that are great on TV. It wouldn't translate to radio. It's a different market. You have to be more descriptive.
Well, and again, I'll just tease that when we talk about AEW.
Oh yeah, baby. Let's fucking go.
Problem. And I ask you oftentimes, Brian, why the hell do this many people listen to us talk? And there's some appeal there that I don't understand. But apparently we have more appeals to us than some of the other people do. Anyway, so it's going to be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week WWE radio channel with all of the same people there, but they're going to be talking, I'm sure, nicely about the regime, and then we're going to get all the WWE people that talk nicely about the regime.
And you probably aren't going to be able to mention AEW or CMLL or anything else that's outside of the system. WWE, we've been saying it for a while, and there's a lot of things behind the scenes that happen. But WWE wants to own it all. WWE wants to own everything. And it doesn't just mean every wrestling company under their thumb. It means wrestling audio. It means YouTube. It means everything. They want to own it all. And this was set up for them. They don't have to do anything to take over this channel. The channel's a non-existent thing right now. It has no buzz. The only thing that may have buzz is the morning show. And again, it's night and day between that kind of show and what we do and even what others are doing. It's a different kind of no. Just no.
Right.
Bad radio. I hate bad radio. I just hate
You're goddamn, you're going to have a stroke over there. I've said it before and I'll say it again. That's why we don't do video, because then it would be just the two of us sitting here staring at our cameras while we talk to each other, and that would be bad television. I've done some before, but it wasn't on purpose, and I had hopes it wouldn't turn out. But I don't intentionally do bad television. I'd rather do good radio. And then the theater of the mind takes over. And you can imagine Brian Last as the muscular Greek Adonis that he is.
800 pounds, long hair, in my basement. I need someone to pay my bills. Help me.
You can imagine me, for example, sitting here in my underwear with puppies frolicking about. See, it can't live up to reality. Can't live up to the theater of the mind.
Well, the other thing too, real quick, everyone does, unless they're in the same location, in which case YouTube just becomes like here's my version of The Tonight Show.
I don't have enough money.
I don't know how much of that the public for a long time is going to want to take. Well, right now it's okay, but the idea of what can we do? We have to put our podcast on YouTube. I know, I'll film my face, and I'll film your face, and then when I'm talking, we'll just see you staring ahead blankly. And then you're thinking, man, this guy has no thoughts. He's just staring ahead. He's not writing any notes down. He's not looking to the side. He's just, I will not turn away from the camera. And it's bad, and it looks bad, and people do it just because other people do it. So you're supposed to do it. But go the other way.
It looks like a goddamn online courtroom arraignment. Most people's
bad content
shows. Just, yeah. Enjoy the pretty colors on our thumbnails, folks.
Legendary has arrived in Alberta with BetMGM Casino. Sign up to unlock access to over 4,000 casino games, including exclusive slots you can't spin anywhere else. Survivor's Ready? The iconic TV show is now an online casino game where you can tap into island fun. BetMGM has also brought The Price is Right, Game of Thrones, Family Feud, MGM Millions, and so many more exclusive games to Alberta. Get Las Vegas right from your phone with live dealer games streaming from real tables. And every time you play, you can enjoy instant deposit options with fast withdrawals. BetMGM Casino and its legendary library of games are available. Download the BetMGM app. CMGM.com for terms. 18 plus, Alberta only. Please play responsibly, subject to eligibility requirements.
If gambling is affecting your mental health or well-being, 211 Alberta is here to help. Call or text 211 or visit ab.211.ca. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with the Alberta iGaming Corporation. Standard message and data rates may apply.
But speaking of bad radio, let's switch medias and go to bad pay-per-view. SummerSlam is, as we are speaking now, is a week away, the first night of it at least. By the time that this runs through the machine, the flywheel, it'll be a few days closer than that. And we don't know what nights the matches are going to take place on, but we want to go over the matches that we know. If they ain't announced it by goddamn a week out, what the fuck, right? For heaven's sake. But besides that, did you see the report that said, remember we just talked about these tickets weren't selling, and they were like 21,000 some and 22,000 some respectively for the given nights, and then in the last week they've sold, what, 7,000 fucking tickets? Or was that 7,000 for each night? Or was that just 7,000 in total? I think it may have been 7,000 each, where they're up to like 29,000. This is why I don't know if you can magically call up the information on this thing. But there's something going on around here. I'm smelling a little rodent running around. It's not my cute little puppies. It's a slimy little fucking paperer.
Well, Jim, I have it here, the latest update from WrestleTix. According to WrestleTix, night 1, Saturday, August 1st, the tickets distributed as of now is 30,205.
Yeah.
Night
Shit.
2, 29,897.
So that's 15,000 tickets individually over the last week. So does he have the update on since last update, or what's causing all this? In the immortal words of Arn Anderson,
This is as of this morning, as we are recording, and the cheapest ticket is $76.10 standard admission right now, not counting any sales or any free tickets. 10 days until the show. number of seats on the map, 72,287.
Well, but now that they did some type of $25 general admission sale or something. But does that account for that?
What?
Has there been an announcement in the last week of out of Jesus' resurrection during intermission? What could have happened there when they were limping along, and all of a sudden, boom! They go from 20,000 to 30,000 both nights.
I mean, unless it's CM Punk and I apologize for noise behind me. Unless it's CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, just the excitement over seeing that match is that much, or Brock and Oprah.
But hadn't they announced that before?
Yeah, Nick Aldis? Maybe Nick Aldis moved all those tickets.
I forgot about Nick. And by the way, folks, this is not Brian Last Gardner's. I'll have you know, it's his fucking neighbor's Gardner's.
Never mind. They've come on the wrong day now a couple weeks in a row. But Jim, once again, let's go to SummerSlam. Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yes.
Minnesota is what it's called on the map.
Or as Arn Anderson used to say it to Nikita Koloff, Minnesota.
The U.S. Bank Stadium. While we have buzzing in the background, let's talk about this buzzworthy card here, Jim. The Women's World Championship.
See, yeah, they wouldn't want us on Sirius Radio anyway, because we're not serious about our radio.
That's the problem. They wanted us on Sirius Radio, but anyway.
They weren't serious about their radio.
The champion, Liv Morgan, versus Io Sky.
You know, I'm torn. I'm conflicted. Because I like Liv Morgan as a personality, and she strikes me as a peppy little thing, and she took that goose egg on her forehead well. She's painfully small, but of course it don't matter to me. But then it's Io Sky, and good Lord, she's gonna be she's points at her head like she has big fucking knots coming out of it. I may have to flip a coin on that.
All right, I'm pulling for Liv Morgan, who I think is...
Well, no, I want Liv to win. I'm flipping a coin as to whether I watch it.
We'll see what happens. I think you should give it a chance. Jim, in a match where the winner gets to keep $100,000 that was previously stolen from Judgment Day, Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio.
Wait a minute. Honestly, of course, listeners know I don't give a shit what's going on with the Judgment Day these days, but how did they manage to... Who stole $100,000 from who?
Danhausen stole $100,000 from Judgment Day, and then they thought they got it back, but they opened the bag and the bills have been replaced with like Danhausen money. So now they're trying to get back their money, and the only way they could do it is to have this match with Dominic Mysterio against Dan. Dominic Mysterio beat John Cena on his retirement tour. Let's see what he can do with Danhausen.
Oh, I don't know, because Danhausen's he's younger than Cena. So he's got more gas left in the tank. Holy Christ. And they're testing the theory. This is all I'll say. They're testing the theory here, or the statement that I've made, that Dominic is such a classic chicken shit heel. It has the heat that the people like to have, that you can beat him and it doesn't hurt him like it would a big fucking monster or whatever. But this will be, I'm sure Dominic will win in some fashion after the antics, but still just that he's going to have to probably put in a little bit of time in this. You know, it's going to be comedic.
All right, Jim, well, the laughs continue. We have more card here. For the Intercontinental Championship, the champion Penta versus Chad Gable in his hometown.
You know, I will watch that. Normally, Penta just don't take a lot of his gravy to go all over my plate. But Gable in his hometown, and he's got now experience working in Mexico, so he can even make some of Penta's halfway goofy shit look plausible. I'll watch that, and hopefully Gable will win because there's a lot more upside there to him in a variety of places than there is to Penta. And old Felix just showed up and got split up because they came in at different times and made a big splash and then sunk to the bottom like a turd in a punch bowl, didn't they?
Well, he's the Intercontinental Champion here.
Well, but I mean, everybody was acting like, oh no, these guys are going to be the rulers of the world. That's Obafemi. We all know that.
Panta's been there a while. He sells a lot of merch and he's popular. Phoenix.
Where'd Felix go?
I'm not sure what he's doing exactly, but of course they have AAA, so there's lots of options.
Well, there you go.
So we'll see what happens there with that match. But Jim,
Gable, he's our man. If he can't do it, well, just fuck it. We'll all go home.
he has to do it. I mean, after everything that the character has gone through, this is the redemption right here. Jim, another match in a 5-way ladder match for the interim WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax versus To Be Determined.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, well, now I understand that the refrigerator has lost a bunch of weight. I just saw a report that she's lost somewhere nearly 100 pounds from whatever her her peak inflation was. And so that may slow her up, but she's noted for landing on people or throwing a few potatoes every once in a while. Yeah. Then you've got Tiffany, who's greener than a pepper tree, greener than chlorophyll, as Frank Spaceman Hickey would say. You've got Jade, who, I mean, I don't know how many ladder matches she's had. She's good on the ground when they can choreograph it like an aggressive dance routine. Poor Charlotte, Jesus Christ. But she's got a bad knee. And I don't know what the fucking health state of To Be Determined is, but their big money female ball player, Rhea Ripley, gets injured. A knee injury. Imagine that. So they decide to put 5 more of the fucking girls, many of whom are very inexperienced in this particular line of combat, climbing ladders, taking bumps off of them, and or inexperienced in everything, and some of whom have bad knees or history of potentially landing on people. Let's put them in a fucking 5-way ladder match and see how many other ones we can fucking mow down all at the same time.
That's the way to get me to watch. I want to see if Nia can climb that ladder. We'll see what happens. Can't ask you for prediction here, but To Be Determined.
Yeah, that could wild card, bitches. That could throw the whole thing off. This could be like also, they actually booked a ladder match between Tojo Yamamoto and Dutch Mantel in 1982 in Memphis. And poor Tojo, his legs weren't 2.5 feet long, and it was just comical seeing him trying to climb the ladder. And that was before that the ladder match was a thing, because who was it? It might have been Danny Davis and Ken Wade. Out of somebody brought it down from Calgary, brought the idea down. So we had ladder matches before they were cool. But Tojo never got to the top of it.
Well, Jim, let's see the top of the ladder in the next match. 6-man tag team action. The Bloodline of Jacob Fatu, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso versus L.A. Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Chris Keys.
Boy, howdy. It didn't last long for Obafemi. Just took all of fucking old Hoist Keys' goddamn aura away, didn't he? They show up at about the same time, but one is bigger and talks better and younger and more popular. Do you like the idea of this, again, this whole thing with who are the baby faces and who are the heels? They love L.A. Knight. Poor Hoist hadn't really got a chance, but Solo And I know, and I haven't again even given a shit about the build for this because I don't want to see all these people fighting each other. Do you?
No, I hate this secondary bloodline shit. If Roman's not involved, it takes it down a notch, and you know, the idea of Fatu and the Usos against kind of this makeshift team where, again, is Solo a babyface or a heel? I'm not exactly sure. LA Knight is just stuck where he always is, and Royce Keys, I don't care. They did all that work. They claim they did all that work to show his personal life, and he was on Stephanie's podcast. It is not translated. They've just dropped the ball completely. It's not about other guys that were brought up or anything at the same time. They just haven't made him interesting. I don't think.
Well, that's true. They haven't made him that visible, to be honest.
I mean, Trent Williams just came up. Javon Evans just came up. Ethan Page just came up. A lot of other guys who are in the mix. Royce Keys is in the mix here with the Bloodline stuff. That we'll see if maybe this will change it, but it hasn't felt like they've done it right yet.
If Jacob Fatu was a legitimate, could have been a contender, Stella. People legitimately thought at one point here about 3 or 4 months ago Jacob Fatu could be the world heavyweight champion, or one of them. And now he's in a 6-man tag just because of his brothers and the other fucking guy, Jacob Light. All right, continuing on.
Jacob Fatu is smaller than he was, and that's not the worst thing if it improved his health, but he also now just talks slowly and clearly, and it's just they lost all the energy.
And remember when we said that, and it looked like for 2 weeks like they brought the werewolf back. Then they domesticated him and taught him how to pee on his pad and put him in the fucking... And I love you, Roman. What the fuck?
Well, Jim, this next match, one I'm looking forward to. Gunther versus Nick Aldis.
I bet you that they will have the best wrestling match of the weekend. If you're looking for actual professional wrestling where I don't think there's going to be, hopefully not, a ton of furniture involved. I don't think there's going to be a bloodbath. Hopefully don't think that they'll even have to bury the referee. But I think just for work, whatever they do, however they decide to approach the match, I bet for actual execution of work, that'll be start to finish the best match of the fucking weekend. And I think people are going to go crazy over the fucking thing when they see it unfold in front of them. And Gunther has to win, but it remains to be seen whether they're going to involve Gunther's next, dance partner, as they say, with in the finish, if he just beats him or if he's trying to inflict too much punishment. Here comes Sabada. I hope they wouldn't go with here comes Sabada and he causes Aldis to beat Gunther. Unless they're going to bring it back. I don't see them bringing it back because the law of diminishing returns don't, unretire too often. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah, me too, but my only question is, and I want it to be a really good match, but should it be? I mean, he's not a celebrity and he's not a civilian. He's a former wrestler, although never there, Nick Aldis. But he's been a GM for a while. He's been out of active competition. Should he have a long match with Gunther? Should it be competitive?
You don't pay attention to what I say, do you? Because I said this the other dadgum day. You were probably busy counting the ratings. But no, it doesn't need to be one of these AEW nail biters for 20 minutes. My God, he kicks the shit out of Gunther, and Gunther wins by the skin of his teeth. But at the same time, it's not like if Nick Aldis had been a pro wrestler many years ago, but now he's fucking 50-something years old and he's fat or he's gray or whatever. Look at him in a fucking suit. He looks better than half the roster. And he can work. And I think if they do, that's why I said the other day, they ought to make some kind of deal with Billy Corgan for footage or something to where they do a 2 or 3 minute package before
TNA.
the match.
He was in TNA, wasn't he?
TNA.
Yeah.
Well, but that was long ago, and oh so far away when I fell in love with him before the second show. But it's something to show him in a positive light.
Real
He was
pretty.
former NWA champion.
Look
He's
at
been in the
that.
ring. He's had matches with Cody.
Getting
But
the
whatever
whole
case,
side of
do
Paltopia.
that package and have him say, I've been retired as an in-ring competitor for the past X years. What is it? 3 years, 4 years, whatever. But I'm 39 years old and I'm a man and I try to stay in good shape. And I'm not, the old Bill Watts, I'm not ready for a long campaign. I'm not coming out of retirement. I just want to get even with this fucking guy. And they can do some shit early, but eventually I think Gunther has to wear him out and fucking beat him, but not, it's not like you're talking a goddamn civilian or a referee or somebody that it would be ridiculous if they had any offense or, well, Marco Stunt or whatever. So, and plus it's a personal issue. Personal issues draw money.
All right, well, let's see what other money-drawing matches were potentially on this show, or are on this show. Jim, Hell in a Cell, Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar.
And
Shit.
Obafemi's got to win this or just the whole world is gone insane. And that's what they were doing, I guess. 2 out of 3 when they did it's just, this has been so odd. But the build to a couple of these main events, this, the first one we'll talk about, has been odd to me. If the whole retirement thing, tease, just the action of Brock being emotional when he never is, and leaving his shoes and the whole 9 yards, if that wasn't a spontaneous moment, it was all part of the plan, Smithers, then it really was a shitty plan. And I don't know that for Brock to be at SummerSlam in Minneapolis against Obafemi for the third and final confrontation, I would have preferred that Oba just beat Brock and leave it there and let Brock do some angle with somebody where he could be, and I've mentioned it before with Heyman.
I'm bogged down, boys.
Forcing him back in the ring contractually, you evil business, fucking manager, whatever, and let Brock be in a kind of a more babyface position. Have the same match, do the same thing, that he always does, but the people would cheer for him. But Obafemi better goddamn win this fucking match. One would think, unless. But then I'm confused. If we thought Oba winning the King of the Ring would lead to him challenging Roman for the title at SummerSlam. If Roman came out and fucked him during the goddamn Hell in a Cell, but Roman's allegedly some kind of baby face, at least in the Pacific Islands and certain atolls off the fucking coast. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, Jim, 2 more matches here. For the World Heavyweight Championship, the champion Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins.
I can't see, since they seem to be so enamored of Roman, I can't see them taking the thing off of him at this point. Can you?
No, but I mean, they could. And I hate to say it, I just don't care. It's a Roman Reigns match, and they haven't really made me care about whether or not he's the champion or not.
There's going to be a lot of walking around.
A lot of talking. A lot of, mid-match speeches.
Speechifying.
That the crowd will be quiet for, but the cameras will pick it up, don't worry. Do you have a prediction, Roman?
Hi there, Roman. Roman will reign.
All right, Jim, finally, for the WWE Championship, undisputed championship, that is, the champion CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes.
I believe, for every drop of rain that falls, I believe that CM Punk will retain the championship that he just won, but that something will happen involving either Gunther or potentially Sammy or potentially both that will render Cody down and subject to being beaten, but not something that Punk actually was the eyewitness to and could then be accused of capitalizing on. How about them apples?
Minnesota apples, I guess we can say.
That's right. Goes along with the Wisconsin cheese.
Well, there it is. That's SummerSlam. 2 nights. We'll see how they... This would have been a really good one-night card. 9 matches.
They've got enough for one, don't they?
Yeah. 9 matches. It could have gone 4 hours, you know, to the 9 matches, but still. They're going to divide this up. Maybe they'll add another match so it's not just 4 matches and 5 matches, but not a lot here for 2 nights. Nothing to get excited about traveling for, I don't think.
Well, there's going to be some other things that get announced days
commercials.
out.
Extra commercials. Brand new
Extra commercials. Well, you know, speaking of a thing like commercials, you know, everybody has them, Brian. It's not that they're inherently bad. It's just sometimes people make them boring, and sometimes people make them exciting. Like we do here. Many people say, boy, I love to buy the products and services that Jim Cornette and the great Brain Last advertise because, well, they either make me feel better or eat better or look better or just they tickle my taint in some kind of way. And that's why we are proud to tell you that now, folks, we can increase your concentration. We can make sure that you are focused in on what's going on. You've got focus and mental clarity without nicotine or caffeine. We're going to help you concentrate on things and wish your way to success, and at the same time, we're going to keep you away from these nasty, nasty habits. Now, Brian, you know these kind of people. They get up in the morning, the first thing they want to do is guzzle a gallon of coffee. They might even go so far as to order it from some overpriced outlet that sells coffee and coffee ancillary products. Those kind of really fucked up people that are just addicted to the caffeine. Do you know anybody like that?
I think we should move along instead of labeling people or anyone specific. I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at, but we're talking about a fine product that isn't about insulting our friends.
Yeah, well, see, they got the caffeine monkey on their back. They call it the kunky. And they can't do without the caffeine. You know, caffeine hospitalized me, and I've never forgiven him or his entire family for it. Well, it's all about bad habits versus good habits, Brian, and that's why that our friends at Ultra make the Ultra pouches that are a game changer for focus and energy, that have no nicotine and no caffeine. They don't have things and such like that that you'll have to crave and be bad for you and ruin your health. Instead, they've got clinically proven nootropics and adaptogens, or adaptogens. Adaptogens. It delivers immediate focus and smooth energy that lasts 1 to 2 hours. Yeah, I mean, they've got the Infinity PX. It's a cleaner, smoother energy boost than caffeine. The L-theanine amino acid for calm energy and attentiveness. The Alpha GPC for enhanced mental processing, and the vitamins for balanced energy and mood. 1 or 2 of these, you'll focus right in. 3 of them, and you will be able to recite and remember all the lyrics to the long version of American Pie after just 1 listen.
That's not how it works. And again, maybe
it was in the survey.
Unless you are someone used to this, maybe stick with 1 or 2. I will say I use 2 and I edit and I love it. The watermelon tastes delicious. But these are great. My recommendation is for anyone editing audio, Ultra Pouch.
Yes. Or video. That could be like the same kind of thing. You still need to focus.
But I'm not giving that endorsement today. I'm only giving the anyone who has to edit audio endorsement.
Well, yes, and anyone on a day with a fucking Z in it. But folks, again, you're going to feel less on edge or anxious. You're not going to deal with the crashes you get. You're still going to get the pouch experience that you actually like, you know, in Ultra, huge in the kangaroo population. And you might get better sleep because the nicotine and the caffeine spike your resting heart rate, kills your body's and brain's ability to recover from things. You may have been hit by a car recently. Well, you're fucked. But the Ultra pouches will not disrupt your sleep. And again, folks, the insanely good flavors: cool mint, wintergreen, tropical, watermelon, and blue raz. It's fruity too here. You can also, if you're trapped on a deserted island and you have no vitamin C, you won't get scurvy as long as you've packed, much like Thurston Howell III, a trunk full of your Ultra pouches. It's the ultimate guilt-free pouch, folks, delivering instant focus and mental clarity without nicotine or caffeine, and new customers can use the promo code JCE to get 15% off at takeultra.com. That is takeultra.com. 15% off with the promo code JCE, so you can try a variety of these fruity flavors for enhanced memory, smooth energy, mood balance, calm, steady flow state focus. Goose Fraba.
Once again, Jim, Ultra Pouches, Goose Fraba, whatever's happening right now. Ultra Pouches, I like them, and we think the listeners will too. A great deal for them, in store for them. What's that promo code? Oh my God. All right,
Papa, mow, yeah. See, I'm focusing.
If we can get away from the surfing bird and get back to the Ultra Pouches, that would really be appreciated.
Take Ultra. The Oak Ridge boys hate you. TakeUltra.com. 15% off with promo code JCE.
Ultra Pouches.
Legendary has arrived in Alberta with BetMGM Casino. Sign up to unlock access to over 4,000 casino games, including exclusive slots you can't spin anywhere else. Survivors ready? The iconic TV show is now an online casino game where you can tap into island fun. BetMGM has also brought The Price is Right, Game of Thrones, Family Feud, MGM Millions, and so many more exclusive games to Alberta. Get Las Vegas right from your phone with live dealer games streaming from real tables. And every time you play, you can enjoy instant deposit options with fast withdrawals. BetMGM Casino and its legendary library of games are available. Download the BetMGM app. CMGM.com for terms. 18 plus, Alberta only. Please play responsibly, subject to eligibility requirements.
If gambling is affecting your mental health or well-being, 211 Alberta is here to help. Call or text 211 or visit ab.211.ca. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with the Alberta iGaming Corporation. Standard message and data rates may apply.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I'll tell you, it didn't take a lot of focus or concentration this week for Dark Side of the Brain. And I have a soft spot for the program that I'm on quite often. But in this case, you'd have to have a soft spot in the head. Because it was... I will preface this by saying it made everyone and everything involved in the show, except for one person, look horrible. And then I will give my reasoning for same now that I've made that blanket statement. The show was on the match between Samoa Joe and Necro Butcher. And I know we've had Evan Husty on talking about this, and if you heard that, but a lot of people are still probably saying, the what? From who? Where? Because when I first heard from the Dark Side crew that one of the episodes is going to be on the famous match between Samoa Joe and Necro Butcher, I'm like, what match. What famous match? It may be famous on message boards of really hardcore indie marks, and I use that term in the exact manner in which it was always intended, from 20 fucking years ago. But except for the fact that Samoa Joe has gone on to be a legitimate mainstream major company talent since then, there was nobody else to talk about this or to present except nobody's. And the match, it's just... First, it made Dark Side of the Ring look bad because they're narrow casting. I think it was an episode wasted on the smallest possible audience because literally almost nobody knew this match took place until they decided to make an episode about it. Were you aware that this famous match took place, and it was right up your neck of the woods? Did you know about it at all?
I had heard about it. It did not have a legendary
Real dialed
status
in,
amongst
obviously.
myself or the people I spoke with. It wasn't something I sought out at its time. I saw a lot of the CZW Ring of Honor stuff, but that, even though these two guys are a part of that, that's a little bit after this.
That was a few years after this. But point is, narrow casting the program because the smallest audience would know. And hey, that worked at one point with Chris Cole a season or two ago. A lot of people hadn't heard about him, but it was one of the higher rated episodes, possibly because we'd talked so much about Chris Cole, but also because at least it was a fascinating story about a guy who was legitimately at one time in mainstream professional wrestling. This made the wrestling business in general look bad to a Vice TV audience who may be seeing this at one of the endless repeats. It's Dark Side is half of their schedule. I think this is what they call professional wrestling these days because it was a garbage indie match in Ian Rotten, the trashiest wrestling promoter ever. And imagine how much territory that takes in. He was the guy putting the show on. So it made not wrestling in general and promoters look bad. They do this? What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, you see, that's another thing. I paid attention to Ring of Honor. I kind of knew after a certain point what was happening in CZW. I never watched it. But beyond the Dennis Carluzzo stuff when it first started up, I never kept up with IWA Mid-South, and I know now because guys like CM Punk started there. People look at it as, kind of being this, the stomping ground to get people ready. I didn't...
Get them ready for the fucking morgue. They've had to airlift more than one.
The deathmatch scene and deathmatch companies and companies that had death matches were typically not my scene.
See, make no mistake, yes, Ian Rotten booked CM
Boom.
because he was running Indiana and Punk lived in Chicago, Illinois, and he would pay him and he could drive, but it wasn't like that the cards were filled with punks up and down the roster. It was actually literally filled with punks up and down the roster. Fat, bald, tattooed guys, garbage matches, death matches, obnoxious women's hardcore matches, and general bullshit that, as we've mentioned, led to one of the stricter athletic commissions in the country. But point is, business looked bad, promoter looked bad, the show looked bad. Why are you covering these fucking weirdos?
Wow.
The wrestlers, except for, I'll get to it in a minute, who look like idiots when you see the highlights of the people talking about it. The fans were talking heads and came off like goofy hardcore marks. Oh, yeah, this was so great. Oh, my God. You wouldn't believe it. Oh, my God. Necro Butcher, I met him and worked with him a short time in Ring of Honor in like 2009. He's a nice guy. And believe it or not, and that's the rib, he has a genius level IQ. But this shows you the difference between people having a genius level IQ and common sense. And he's had a troubled life and has recently survived cancer. I'm not wishing ill on him. I'm just stating the fucking fact that you would take away from this, sitting there, this guy has issues that need to be addressed. And secondly, from a person inside the wrestling business, you would know that he does not now, after all this time, and never has understood the business. Because he got started in these deathmatch fucking situations. Where even that was his reasoning. They just looked down on me like I'm just a deathmatch wrestler, but I wanted to prove that I could take anything that the real wrestler Samoa Joe could dish out. That doesn't have anything to do with the wrestling business. You're not supposed to go in there and take everything he has to dish out. What the fuck is going on here with these people? And so, I mean, can you deny that from listening to him, Butcher's a very nice guy that's had a hard life and has issues and doesn't understand what fucking actual professional wrestling business is kind of about?
I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I don't really think he's a wrestler, but, being a wrestler and being in the wrestling business, not that he's not, but you know what I mean? Like, he clearly never had aspirations to be on national TV with a national company, or he would have done things differently. So...
And that's where the issues that I talk about come into play. What is he proving, and to who, by doing the things that he has done? And he obviously, from the way he was talking, he was trying to prove things to somebody. But anyway, the point is, Samoa Joe, the only guy that came off normal because he was treating it as a joke with a twinkle in his eye and kind of a snicker. And he even said, hey, I took the booking because my girlfriend at the time lived there. I wanted to get some ass. And this guy wants me to do all this shit too. Okay. And here we go. But he's been a star. He's been a legitimate talent in mainstream promotions. So he probably said, okay, I'll sit there and talk about this goofy match I had in front of nobody 20 years ago with this guy that wanted me to just beat the fuck out of him. But I can't, make anything serious out of it because to him it's a fucking footnote. But everybody just came off looking like the people that like that garbage deathmatch bullshit look. Like lower forms of humanity that people would roll their eyes at in a fucking public setting. And it doesn't do the wrestling business or anything else any good. Have these... Ian Rotten, a sleazy, fat, trash bag promoter. And this poor guy that's had all these challenges in his life to go out there and wrap himself up in barbed wire and stick broken glass in his fucking arms and have his head gashed open and all this shit. And the people that are, including Dave Prazak, who now has gray hair. My God, I thought he was eternally 12. But this was so great. Like they're ever going to get laid again. It just made everybody look like fucking idiots.
I have a soft spot for Prazak. He's a good guy.
Well, but still, I mean, just be out there saying that, like, wow, this is so wow.
Prazak and I both debuted as commentators for the first time on the same night, so we both started the same day.
I remember I was there. But thank you for helping get me over that night. I appreciate it. But the point is, everybody in this, including the business, Bryce Remsburg. Of course, he's refereed a match between the Invisible Man and his invisible opponent. So I liked Bryce before, but fuck him too. He's goddamn phony fucking showbiz bullshit. But it's just it does no good for the overall perception of professional wrestling among the mainstream population to have this goddamn indie niche garbage hardcore bullshit glorified and have credibility lent to it by anybody that's actively involved in the actual wrestling business. And everybody here looked like they ought to be running the Ferris wheel at the county fair. That was my thought. I'm sorry to have to say that, but what the fuck? And if anybody don't believe me, watch it for yourself and tell me that you would want your daughter to date any of these people, or you'd want to, if you're at a restaurant, if these folks are at the booth next to you, are you going to ask if you can move? What the fuck?
All right.
Your closing thoughts, Brian, if any, or did I about cover it?
You know, I'm not a big fan of the show in general, and I think certain things, like the reenactments, are completely not needed anymore.
I will say, when they have the footage of the thing actually happening, you don't need to reenact it.
There's nothing to reenact. I mean, so it stands out in an episode like this. But I almost feel like they need to get away from the word dark side, or just at least keep it in the name, but not make that the focus of the show. Just make it, we're going to tell stories about stuff we like that may not be dark. It may just be everyone lived and moved on, and everything is just fine. You know, in a way, I think it could be a cool new format for them, the idea of focusing on an individual match where you can actually get footage of a match and have all the people sit down and talk about it. I think that's...
But hopefully it would be one where people actually ever saw it or heard of it to begin with, and they know both of the participants.
Yeah, but in my world, this was never considered a classic match, and if it's been brought up, it's been brought up almost never over the last 10 years, 15 years, whatever. So they're bringing attention to something that I don't think anyone was aware of.
Yeah, it might have been better to let the sleeping dog take his nap. But next week, they do return to the dark side, because I have to say this, or not next week, but now this week, as we are... By the time you hear this, you just run over and turn your TV on whenever you hear this. But it's an episode on Big Bubba Rogers, the Big Boss Man Ray Traylor. And obviously that does have kind of a dark ending, so we're back on the dark side, but also... I think he's another guy that's gotten shorted on the WWE official documentaries and biographies and bullshit, and he is somebody that a lot of people do know and did see and were fans of and would probably like to know the story of. So
come on, how do you sell?
This past week was a momentary pothole, a little bump in the road, Lance.
There we go.
On my way to the championship, as Jerry Lawler once said on Memphis TV, just a little bump in the road is all it is. And we're back to the wrestling business this week.
Big Boss Man or Ray Traylor had two of the coolest entrance musics. That's not how you say that. He had two of the coolest entrances with music that he would come to the ring with. He had Midnight Express when he would come out with you guys, or Chase. And then he had Jive Soul Bro when he would come out with Slick. And then he had Hard Times, and everyone remembers that. But, man, Jive
What about Peter Gunn? What about Peter Gunn, baby?
And that.
I love that. That was my idea, by the way. I love it, kid. Because when he told Bubba to show up as a bodyguard, just wearing a suit and hat, right? And we added the sunglasses, and he grew the beard because he was so young and he was so baby-faced. But I said, if we want to create some fucking menace, and he looks kind of like a gangster, and boom, 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 boom. And it worked. I loved that. And it wasn't something that people were going to, like, be able to sing along to, or it wasn't a hit they were going to cheer for anyway, or it was going to be cool. True. It just sounded, it was heelish bullshit. Wow, wow, wow.
You can't do anything to it. You're right. You can't clap to it. You can't do anything.
Yeah. But it's just like, I expect to see him pull a goddamn machine gun out of his violin case. So anyhow,
I hope
where were we?
I hope Darkside includes at least one time of you saying, "Big Bubba, no trouble."
They'd have to play the commercial now for people to really get it. That was the biggest bubblegum commercial of all time. Big Bubble, no trouble. Anyhow, speaking of trouble, and all the other things we're going to speak about. Brian, I think my overall assessment of WWE Unreal on this particular season is they had two pressing needs. One, they had a contractual commitment to fill up some time. And number two, they had an overwhelming and uncontrollable impulse to huff their own farts. And they put those two things together, and they filled 5 hours up on how brilliant they are to do all this shit that they always meant to do to begin with. And when somebody gets hurt, they'll just change it and do that too. But everybody always ends up hugging each other in the end. Because that's what it's all about. Hugging the guy that I hate worse than anything else on television. Do we need to review the 5 hours now, or did I just kind of encapsulate it?
You captured a lot of it. Obviously, that's a very, very, very sour view of it all. Obviously, we get to see wrestlers.
Very sour.
Well, we get to see, it exposes the mystique, I guess you could say, for a lot of wrestlers.
It doesn't just expose it. I expect to see some type of oral sex between these people after they come back from their matches. In the territory days, we didn't fucking hug and kiss and thank you or a handshake if we saw the guy. If the locker rooms weren't separate, now there's an entire... Are they staging this for the program? Where there's like an audience waiting to applaud the people as they come back and everybody's hugging, including the two people that just tried to kill each other and talking about how it just came off perfectly exactly as we planned. After they have showed us planning the shit to begin with. Every step, every facial expression, every move. Was that a question? Did I phrase that in the form of a question?
No, you certainly didn't, but I kind of know what wavelength you're on. Yes, that's what WWE Unreal is. I said it to you the other day when we were talking about, I think, Saturday night's main event. If I told you they're booking their promotion for Unreal, it seems a lot more reasonable than they're booking it to sell tickets and pay-per-view events. Because it seems like, you know, again, as all these things are happening, these wrestlers are sitting down and doing interviews with Unreal. Everyone's in a fucking happy relationship. That's amazing. Everyone is just in love with their spouse, and everyone's spouse is on the road with them.
Yes.
Thing. I
guarantee you, 40 years ago, there would have been a lot of happiness if the spouses were on the road. But it's also, everybody is happy and they love everyone. And John Cena has his personality that he had at one point that got him over with, everybody personally at OVW, and he was just such a fucking personable. He's turned into a monotonic, whispering robot wearing Vince McMahon's clothing. Have you noticed this type of behavior with his measured voice, like he's having someone read it into the chip in his brain?
He seems like a genuinely great guy. What he does for children is commendable. As big a star as he is, I can't pretend like I enjoyed his work by and large the last year. It reminded me of a lot of things I didn't like. But the way he talks, everything is a politically correct press statement where he's not going to offend anyone. He's going to tell you something, and if you really stop, you're trying to figure out what the fuck he's saying. He justifies a lot of his own stuff. His reasoning is, again, very interesting. But he's a robot. He speaks like a robot. He behaves like a robot.
He used to be a very jovial, outspoken, happy fellow telling stories and whatever. But we saw him. He said the retirement tour consumed him. So we saw him working with and teaching spots to Logan Paul, showing him the way to lift, etc. I mean, it's even the somewhat dedicated, knowledgeable fans like ours that are listening now might not necessarily get this inside baseball, But everybody that falls across this is going to think that, my God, not only is it completely choreographed from word go, but that they'll think it was always like this. And it just, to me, it's like wheeling out the box where you're putting the girl to saw her in half and showing the mirror and the play with it. And then Triple H explained, well, we're spending a year to say goodbye to John Cena. I'm like, he just won't leave. But they started back in, early 2025, the Elimination Chamber, where Cena turned heel. And he gave the impression, well, yeah, they just wanted me to turn heel, so I got to come up with a reason why. And it looked like he did. He just came up with a reason why. But that whole, they tried to smooth over and sugarcoat some of the shit they did that wasn't that well received, but in highlights it looks like it worked because they've got the edit on. But that's what I wrote. Cena's explaining his thought process for being a heel, and it makes sense when he explained it, but they're acting like it worked. And then Triple H said that he told Cena he couldn't be so boring, so then I started having good matches again. I'm like, oh my God. And then they demanded the old Cena back by SummerSlam, but then suddenly we're in the writer's room, and then we were on Braun Breaker's fishing boat. So your thoughts so far, Brian?
Again, the Cena last year to me.
All right, guys, I think I'm going to end it right here.
Creatively.
I didn't talk much. I was too wired in here.
Cool. I like the
Too locked in.
personally.
Anyway, peace.